Welcome back, everybody. It's 7:08 in the morning. News Radio 830 KHVH, and undergoing a little bit of show prep with the fellas in studio, and it is the SHOPO Hour, an hour that we look forward to each and every week. Before we jump in, I'd like Steve and Mark, if we could a duet together of a musical reintroduction. It is Reunited, and it feels...
Sure.
Reunited, and it feels so good. Ladies and gentlemen, Bobby Cavaco.
My ears are sore.
I'm glad it's just the ears after this conversation. Brother, welcome back into studio.
How are you doing, Rick?
I'm doing great.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Good to see you. Bring us up to speed, bro. How you been? What's been happening? Shaking, baking, and all that good stuff.
Well, we've been very busy over the last several months. You know what's interesting about our organization is that when you compare it to mainland police unions, normally they deal with one police department, one police chief, one command staff, one mayor, one city council, one police commission. Mm-hmm. But with us, you have to times that by 4, because we have, we're a statewide union with 4 departments and 4 of each.
Right.
So there's always something going on, and just it's never a dull moment. So we have a lot to deal with. Been working on legislative bills that just ended the other week.
Yep.
We also been doing national legislation. I was in D.C. To lobby on some national bills that could possibly affect law enforcement. So it's been very busy this year.
Wow. It certainly has, and we're only in the middle of May. But these two fine gentlemen and Brother Nick have been consistent in keeping that level of reporting and interpreting and everything. So I'm very grateful that SHOPO Hour is going strong. And I know Nick has the morning off, but give mad props to Brother Nick, too, as well.
Will do.
Good stuff. Steve Keogh, Vice President of SHOPO. Hello.
Hey, I thought we were going to finish that song up a little bit, Rick. We cut it short.
Oh, yeah. No, we let it go a little too long.
I think Mark was just getting ready to catch his stride. He was just getting ready to open up. But
well, he does have a microphone in front of him, which is similar to karaoke.
American Idol will not be anytime soon, okay?
So this is not Mark Tongi, who is in the studio with us.
I don't think so. But
Brother Steve, it's good to see you.
Rick, always happy and grateful to be here with you and your listeners. Thanks.
We have a lot of ground to cover. Brother Mark,
morning. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Welcome back, Bobby.
Definitely, without a doubt. Well, let's get started because we'll have a traffic update coming up in a few minutes. I refer to a Wallet Hub survey, which surveyed throughout the country over 800,000 police officers serving today nationwide. And the survey emerged which is the best state in which to be a police officer. Now I'll just cut to the chase. In their rankings on 34 different criteria, Hawaii ranked 40th out of 50 states and D.C. And I'd like to just get your take. After I get your take, I'm going to share a little bit of the specifics in that survey that arrived at that number. But in all of your experience and even communications with other departments, what does that number mean? What does that mean to you?
I don't know. That's pretty interesting as far as the ranking. I'd like to see what
did they base that?
Yeah, what did they base it on? What were the intrinsic?
What was the criteria for basing for that number? Would it be salaries? Would it be,
working conditions?
Yeah,
or
boys, I bet you they're throwing in probably cost of living, salaries, benefits. They're probably taking some crime statistics, maybe violent and not, maybe gun crimes, reporting on percentage of population, probably a different thing. 40, for Rick, that's 40 out of 50 then? 50 states, 40 out of 50?
Yeah, and D.C. 51, but still, it's obviously in the latter. I can just share the cursory information and where we rank. So within this survey, overall rank 40th. Opportunity and competition, rank number 5. So that's a positive aspect that they cite here. Opportunity, law enforcement training requirements. I'm not sure, but this comes in at 51, dead last. And it is law enforcement training or requirements. Job hazards and protections, we rank 27th. 27th. Median income growth for law enforcement officers 2021 versus 2022, number one in the country, because I believe the recent negotiated pay raises may have been contributory, but that has a number one ranking. Now, there are a lot of details that this survey provides, but those are some of the benchmarks that were utilized. And I'm not sure if that helps so much, but the one thing, the salary and benefits for our officers now, would that be an agreement? Is it as the best we've had in recent history, or are we anticipating more remuneration for our officers?
I think there's opportunity. There's more opportunity. I said, obviously, if you're looking, Rick, at we're 40 out of 50, I don't think anybody would say that's a great ranking. Mm-hmm. I would say ideally we'd probably at least want to be top 10. So depending on how that's broken down, there's obviously areas that I think we can do better in. I think it wouldn't be a shock to anybody that our first responders that live here in the different counties, with the cost of living, we are still underpaid. I would say that we're about 25 to 30,000 underpaid with our West Coast counterparts on basic salary. I know, Bobby, we were very proud to negotiate a solid contract that we worked really hard for. But again, there's opportunity there, I think, to attract individuals to come work with us over here.
I think one thing to note, too, in regard to some of the metrics, law enforcement is also encompassing sheriffs, and I'll just say right here, law enforcement officers include police and sheriffs, patrol officers, detectives, and criminal investigators. So that's what they're...
So it's the whole state. It's not just HPD then?
No, it is state. It is the state of Hawaii.
Okay.
Yeah. So
makes more sense now.
Anyway, I would encourage folks to take a look at the report. It was just issued over the weekend and can give some, maybe some insight as to what's taking place. Go ahead.
The dead last ranking with the training requirements, I believe that's probably due to the state of Hawaii not having post certification like California or other states normally have, where if you're going to be a law enforcement officer in that state, you need some kind of certification. And then that way those officers can move around kind of like from department to department, and that certification can be revoked. Hawaii is moving in that direction with the creation of the Law Enforcement Board, and they're going to be drafting rules for that type of certification. But as far as the 4 police departments in our state, we stand behind that all 4 are CALEA certified and have the best training that you can get to be a police officer. So
yeah. On that note, I'm just going to cite a couple of things. I looked at some of the details of the methodology. Requirement of de-escalation training states with laws requiring officers to be trained to respond to mental health, substance use, behavioral disorders, police officer education requirements, police officer continued professional education hours, states allowing police work before basic training, and police officer hours training required. These are some of the entrees that they cite. So I don't know what the interpretation of that could possibly be to arrive at findings that they concluded with, but does anything resonate within this?
Well, I mean, we have a lot of that training already. I mean, officers every year have to go to annual recall training. So that's one of the things that they quote in there that's missing. But HPD does that already.
Yeah.
However, I think people need to realize there's always a heavy recruiting effort from outside agencies to come here to pluck our officers like Seattle, Portland, San Fran, because of our training. We have really, really good training.
You just cited 3 cities that don't really need police officers.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Bad joke. But and that's the thing, is that it's all in the detail.
Yeah.
The reason I bring it up is because when folks see this headline, they'll be making assumptions. Well, I mean, 40th in the country, but it's clear, statewide, not HPD, not just police officers, other agencies, and also getting into the detail, like you just said. I mean, we talked on a regular basis the fact that you're the frontline responders with mental health, substance abuse, etc., and you're out there and doing the job without a doubt. And so that would be one of the conclusions I would have to question. But there we go. It's out there. And thank you. Thank you for that. 7:19 in the morning, News Radio 830 KHVH. It is the SHOPO Hour. When we come back, short break, Police Week officially began yesterday. I want to focus a bit on Police Week, and also we'll bring up with you some of the headlines that have been making news and get the boys to give their thoughts and comments. Your calls at 521-8383. We'll be back. Welcome back. It is the SHOPO Hour here on News Radio 830 KHVH with the fellas in studio. Welcoming back Brother Bobby and Steve and Mark. Brother Nick has some time off, and we're delighted that you're with us. Police Week officially began yesterday. Brother Bobby, president of SHOPO, what does Police Week, what does it entail, and what should we know?
Yeah, so Police Week is marked every year in the second or third week of May to really remember our police officers that paid the ultimate sacrifice. Last year we had 246 officers nationwide that died in the line of duty.
Wow.
We're at 42 this year. And during the Police Week, there's a multitude of events to mark that remembrance. Yesterday, they had an event at the Hawaii Law Enforcement Memorial. Today, there's a walk to the Capitol with the ceremony of remembrance in the late afternoon. And then at the end of the week, they also have a luncheon to give out some awards for some fine work by police officers. So it's really a week to really emphasize publicly about the sacrifices that our brothers and sisters have made in the past, as well as those that are currently still serving, every day.
Amen. Amen. I know, is there an event at 11 a.m. Kahala, I believe? Kahala Mall?
Yes, that's the proclamation, I believe, of Police Week.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be today at 11.
Great. Public invited to all, yes?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. And I'll be at the Capitol today because 6 p.m. was the stated time, but get there a little bit early. And there'll be a procession from HPD Maine to the Capitol, yes?
Yes, down Beretania, a couple blocks right into the Capitol.
Right. At my age and condition, I would have to Uber that. So, but point A to point B, definitely. Folks who are dialed in, could we go on SHOPO site if folks would like information, dates, times, and all this?
Absolutely,
Bobby?
Rick. If you come visit us at shopohawaii.org, and under our events tab, that's going to be at the top right of the page.
Yeah.
It's going to explain all the times, events, and locations of what's occurring this week.
Please go online and please attend with your scheduling. Carve that time out, because, and I don't want to make any assumptions, but when our men and women see the general public attend and show up and express, that it means a great deal. And I was at the mayor's town hall over at the Alawai, and gosh, just a great cadre of men and women in uniform, and just being able to shake their hand and to say thank you. We as citizens, I hope we take a few moments to do that. I really do, because the reactions from all is just, we need to show it, and not just feel it. We need to show it. So events this week, today, etc. I found that my life is a lot better when I don't watch the news. Goodness gracious, sakes be praised. I want to start with what's happening on the roadways. We had yet again another incident regarding a motorcycle. We had another incident where a young woman was struck and injured severely. Roadways, even the amount of deaths is substantially higher at this point this year than last. I know we've brought it up before, but could we get once again urging our people, our drivers, to be responsible, and what the prioritization is on watches in regard to traffic. Now, there was one incident, HPD, on a road rage incident, witnessed as patrolling and intervened and stopped. This was with an, I think, 82-year-old woman up on Farrington by Nunnacooley Drive. Psych just gets out of his car and jumps on the hood, pounding on her windshield. Thank goodness an officer was there. Thoughts?
Well, it's definitely dangerous on the roads. We're already at 27 traffic fatalities for the year compared to 18 last year. And I think it's just a multitude of different things that are contributing to it. One is distracted driving. When I'm on the roadway driving, you look to the left, you look to your right. A lot of the motorists have the cell phone in their hand, look like they're just reading the news while they're, heading home. So I think that has to do a lot with it. Impaired driving, drug driving, drinking and driving, and just not paying attention to pedestrians, in the roadway. It has to do with mental health too. I think people that are either mentally ill or on drugs or fentanyl. A lot of them are in the middle of the roadway in the rural areas, just kind of, night of the walking dead, late at night, and they get hit by cars, can't see, lighting is poor. So there's just a multitude of reasons, I think, that we're in the situation we are.
You said distracted driving. Another survey puts the state of Hawaii second most distracted drivers. So as you're alluding to, we're ranking right up there. Mark, what do you think about this? I mean, safety.
People need to take responsibility for their actions, and drivers, pedestrians, bicyclists, everybody got to get together with this. Like, I walk every morning a couple miles with my dogs, and I see these people walking in crosswalks, but they're on their phones. They're looking down on their phones. They're not seeing who's coming. It's like, okay, yeah, you got the right, but you're gonna be dead right one day. I mean, and then the same thing with the drivers. You got to pay attention. So everybody needs to be responsible. And I'm like beating a dead horse here, but when we do cite them, how about the judges do something about it? Don't toss these citations. Hammer these people when they get to court. And maybe something will happen. Maybe they'll take the responsibility. So here's the other thing too, which is we're caught between a rock and a hard place. HBD is almost 400 positions short. So there you go. There's a lack of proactive activity, and it's not HBD's fault. It's just they don't have the positions and they don't have the people to do the proactive activity, right? Calls for service takes priority. So it's just a snowball effect, I guess. So people need to take responsibility for their actions and, be more aware of things.
There are some morons out there. Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just
for sure.
saying. I mean, we did our Mother's Day stuff just driving around the Ala Moana area, dodging in and out of traffic, cutting people off, trying to get onto Kapiolani out of a driveway, just clueless. And and Zach and I were riding together, and we're just looking at each other going, what the hell's going on here, man? Yeah. He said something interesting. 22-year-old guy, okay? Relatively young and out there. I never want to be out past 9 o'clock driving. I never want, if I don't. And I'm listening to this kid, young man, but 22 years of age. Even he's looking around going, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Well, he's exactly right, because the percentage of impaired drivers go significantly increase, when the sun goes down. I think one incident where you can point to is Henry Ruggs, the former Raider,
Oh, yeah.
at 4 a.m, 156 miles an hour, rear-ended the female and with her dog. She was innocently stopped at the red light. He came from behind, wrapped her from behind. Car exploded. She burned to death. And I think he pled guilty, and he's going to do, I think, 3 years, 3 to 10. I would definitely tell my kids too not to be out after 9. You just could be caught in a situation like that, stopped at a red light, and then before you know it, you're gone. Yeah. So,
But that's the dilemma, because as you said, Mark, it's our own responsibility. But clearly, we have a change in character, integrity in our community. And if we can't rely on people being responsible, that inhibits our ability to live our lives out of caution, not paranoia, out of caution, Steve.
No, Rick, is the boys and you were talking, I'm thinking to myself, just in no particular order. Our community doesn't use turn signals when they're on the roads. Our roads are in poor condition and they're overcrowded. We have people in vehicles on our roadways that I would say 30% of the cars are people, tourists visiting from all over the world that don't know where they're going, right? Then we have intense construction. When you have intense construction, it creates frustrations within vehicles. People get distracted. That's when they want to get on their phones. People don't know where they're going. Then throughout the state, we have our unique weather. 1 minute it's raining, the next minute it's sunny. That can be very treacherous for motorcycle riders. Aside from people either drinking, doing drugs, recklessly driving, all of the things that people need to take accountability for, there's other factors that when people get into a vehicle, again, on our freeways, when I drive our freeways at night and you compare the freeways, just how lighted they are, I would say we've done a poor job as a state lighting up our freeways and roadways in the evening, where even for me with fine vision, I say to myself, we need some more light on these freeways here. If you travel in the mainland and you go on the freeway, there's enough light that you can see all lanes. Would we all agree that when we drive at night on the H1, H2, H3, it's not exactly that well lit? So again, not disregarding people's bad choices, impairment decision. I'm just saying in general, the conditions of the roadways, the size of the roadways for our population, the lighting, the environment, and it is tragic because, as Bobby said and you said, there's a lot of people that are dying on our roads in percent of our population, and we're leading that. And to Mark's point, if people need to be held accountable for bad decisions, Rick, and they get cited by an officer, there needs to be some accountability for that kind of conduct, whether it's racing, reckless driving, driving without a license, etc.
It is the SHOPO Hour already at 7:35 in the morning. Welcoming back SHOPO President Bobby Cavaco, also VP Steve Keogh, and the most handsome man in the room, Mark Criccio. And
Can't argue with that.
Yeah, none at all. Well, I read exactly what you wrote for me to say. So the fellas will be back. We are going to take your calls. My apologies if I missed a couple of our callers in the conversation. We'll do it after this. Welcome back to the SHOPO Hour. It is already 7:40 in the morning. News Radio 830 KHVH. We have Brother Bobby, Brother Steve, Brother Mark in studio, and Brother Nick has some time off, and we'll resume in a bit, but we want to make sure that we get your calls on the air with the fellas in studio. So, Steve, out in Kailua, I want to thank you, Steve, for your call, and good morning. You're on the SHOPO Hour.
Good morning. Thank you. Hey, I was curious if the officers still have to know, like, all the street names and where they are without their computers, because they used to do that. And a friend of mine who was an officer used to make up songs using road names. And if you didn't know what he was talking about, it sounded like he was singing Hawaiian. But that's my question.
All right. Thank you very much. And anybody like to field that?
Yeah, I think, when officers go through FTO, field training with their FTO, I'm sure that the field training officer makes sure that the officer that's being trained knows where they're at and what street they're on and where they're going. I know I would always make my person that I was training know the overpasses on the freeway, on the major freeways, so that if something happens, they know where they're at.
Yeah.
Just a couple things. I think right now with technology, officers back in the day would have to use map books, and that would obviously be time consuming and restrictive and could slow down a response to a priority one call. I think now with advances in technology, with all the GPS and maps, I think officers are still able to utilize some newer technologies to get where they need to go safely. But I would share, Rick, that officers on patrol have assigned beats, and those officers that work the same neighborhoods, the same streets on a regular basis, they know where they're going without having to use GPS and technology. But yeah, that might have been something a little bit back in the day. But right now, I think it's just officers that work the beat, know the areas, and then you combine it with the new technology, because it's all about the response time, Rick.
Thank you very much, Romes. Could we grab that call, please, so we don't lose Romeo? Romeo, could we get this call, please? It is 7:43 in the morning here on News Radio 830 KHVH, and taking your calls, and delighted to do so. Thank you, Romes. And we'll have our caller up in a moment. By the way, we do have time to the top of the hour at 521-8383 here on the SHOPO Hour. And as a matter of fact, while we queue up our next caller, and there's a line open, 521-8383, let's head on over to Kirk. He is in New Valley. Kirk, good morning.
Hey, good morning, and we're lighting New Valley blue this week. So I do have a question for you about the contracts in the different counties and SHOPO's role in negotiating. Is there one contract, or is there separate contracts at each county? And then the question about wages then comes up. Are the wages the same or different? And if so or not, and why the same or why different?
All right. Thank you very much, Kirk, for taking the time, and thank you for the blue. Gents, who would like to field Kirk's question?
Yeah, so it's one contract that covers all 4 police departments, one salary schedule. So officers on Kauai get paid the same amount as officers on Maui or Big Island or here. As far as pay parity, I think as far as Honolulu is concerned, we're still behind our counterparts on the mainland, maybe 15% or so. But we try to bridge that gap every contract that we sit down to negotiate. So I believe there was an article in the paper about salary a few days ago, as far as what the starting salary is for our police officers.
Yeah, I don't recall that number, but the number 68,000 is sticking in my head. Is that fairly accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Cost of living. Are there cost of living provisions in the negotiation to say, here's our base, but add on the COL for Hawaii, which is through the roof, as we know?
The only addition would be for our Maui members. We have a separate agreement that abridges the collective bargaining agreement for housing allowance. So those that serve on Molokai and Lanai, they have, I believe it's $1,400 extra a month for their housing allowance, but then that's taxed. So, after taxes, you might get about 1,000.
Maybe 1,000, yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, thoughts? I see a look of...
No. Yeah, we're one state, they represent all departments. So, we're definitely short from the mainland. I mean, if you consider the cost of living here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but, every contract negotiation, we kind of inch a little closer, but then, things still go up, right? I mean, benefits still going up. I mean, let's face it, officers still pay part of their medical, right? And that doesn't go down. So they might get a raise here or there, but then sometimes it'll get eaten up a little bit by medical. So Yeah, they still need to make up some ground.
It's fun because go ahead, Steve.
No, I was just going to say we always appreciate Kirk calling in, and we appreciate Neo Valley All in Blue. Just to add to his question about the contracts, each county does have the ability to do supplemental agreements that the union and the various departments and counties enter into privately. One of the things I did want to recognize is right now, as far as Maui County goes, Maui County got very creative with officer retention. Maui County, the police leadership, and the city and county leadership, they created a retention bonus for our Maui members. The Maui members are getting on average about 750. I don't think that's quite on the money, but close enough. They're getting a retention bonus to stay with that agency, and that's a credit to Chief John Pelletier, his team, the administration over there, and then also the leadership in Maui County to recognize that, hey, we have talented officers here. We want to keep them. We don't want them poached from other agencies. We want the cops with time on the job to stay on, and that's something that the union and the leadership over in Maui negotiated through a supplemental agreement, and our members on Maui benefit from that.
Excellent. I just popped in my head. I believe the Kauai County Council had just authorized a budget appropriation to support salaries for KPD. So there is constant activity, if you will, in that regard. And it's already 7:48. The SHOPO Hour expands to the SHOPO Day. We'll do 24 hours every Monday in order to accommodate the time of all the conversation. And Elizabeth, you will be the first caller when we return. SHOPO Hour. It is 7:48. Welcome back. The SHOPO Hour continues on the Rick Amata program. Delighted you're with us. Thank you, folks, for joining us. And I want to thank especially Elizabeth out in Wahiwa for your patience. Elizabeth, thank you for your call. Good morning.
I wanted to ask why Hawaii doesn't have a state patrol, especially where we're 400 officers down. It seems like it would be helpful if the state troopers could do the roadways and the freeways and free up the police officers to handle more of the other criminal elements and enforcement. Why does Hawaii not have a state patrol?
Thank you very much for the question. I know we contend with that on the mainland. There's differentiation, state police and then local municipal police officers. But it's almost like, why do we, I couldn't answer that. The role of sheriffs is primarily, if I'm not mistaken, airport and courts, primarily. Yeah. But as far as patrols and enforcement and things of that nature, not in their kuleana. Is that correct?
Yes, even though they do have, like you said, they have law enforcement powers statewide, but they don't patrol neighborhoods, right. Or it's strictly more or less confined to the courts and the airports.
So could there be a directive from the state stating that sheriffs, as a matter of fact, you can patrol highways, etc., at least in that regard,
The state is moving in that direction.
They are.
With the newly created Department of Law Enforcement.
Okay.
Yeah, so that newly created department headed by Jordan Lowe, in essence, puts all of those safety departments under one umbrella, and then with the new training center that they're going to build out in Mililani Tech Park, I believe they're going to be moving forward. That's the direction of the state, is to get their own agency where they will do that kind of work.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's what they're moving towards.
So I was aware of all of that, was not aware of that aspect. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you, Elizabeth, for the call. I hope that helps, because that was a great exchange. Thank you both. Clarification in the last segment, Steve.
Oh, yeah, Rick, just wanted to, one thing, going back to the last caller, though. Yeah, Hawaii is unique in that we have a state sheriff. Normally in the mainland, the sheriffs just handle each counties, but here in Hawaii, they have law enforcement jurisdiction statewide. So that's something unique. And as Bobby illustrated, maybe their duties expand a little bit more than they are right now. Just to clarify, Rick, the supplemental agreement that I was talking about for Maui, it's still awaiting Mayor Bisson's signature for the retention bonus, but we were really excited just to come to terms on that, and that's something that they were willing to consider over there. So it hasn't been implemented yet. It's just awaiting the mayor's signature, and we look forward to that.
I made a statement, again, of Family Weekend. We were talking about why people are just seemingly more brazen. There's more brazen acts. And I kind of advanced an idea. People want to take drugs, take them. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Just don't affect anybody else. But I have a feeling that maybe the traditional drugs that have been used recreationally are tainted. And the incursion of fentanyl is not just fentanyl on its own, but druggies are cutting their stacks and all of that. And there's, on top of that, with meth, and then you have individuals that may be recreationally using, but there could be a net effect that is not intended and is consequential. I know that sounds like a very surface observation, but I'm kind of getting that sense that maybe that's part of the situation.
Rick, I would jump in and I would add to that not only maybe are the street drugs different quality, not pure, so to speak. I would say that as a whole here, I think we might be over-medicated as far as prescription drugs go. I've always asked myself, as a community, are we taking more prescription drugs than before? And then if you mix these prescription drugs with things like alcohol and some other things, poor lifestyle choices, I wonder if that doesn't also contribute to some of the challenges that we're facing as a community.
Yeah. Brother Mark, we're in the final moments, believe it or not, already. Want to turn it over to you for some final thoughts before we go.
Police Week. So please go thank a police officer when you see he or she out there. It means a lot for someone like you said earlier. Mm-hmm. You know, when you shake one of their hands, it means a lot, because there's a lot of negativity towards police officers out there, right?
Yep.
And I also encourage the politicians and elected officials to get their butts out there and thank a police officer, because we never see them around. So how about the leaders of our community step up?
Well, let's see how many appear at the state capitol today.
Well, they'll probably show up because they have to, but I'm talking, get your butt down to the station and say hello to the rank and file once in a while. And this is Police Week. Thank them for their service.
I stand corrected. Brother Steve, final thought, couple of seconds.
Like you indicated, Rick, we always appreciate community support. I can't tell you how much the men and women that wear the uniform appreciate just simple gestures from the community that they choose to protect and serve. It goes a long way. And I think we have an amazing community, and we just appreciate the continued support in all the counties. Thank you.
And finally, Brother Bobby returns, hard at work as Taylor Swift's stage manager and making sure her tour got off on the right foot. Brother Bobby.
Yeah, we'd like to wish all of our brothers and sisters statewide, also those on the outer islands, for their service and just to be recognized during Police Week. And if anybody hasn't been down to the Hawaii Law Enforcement Memorial, it's really a serene place, and it was well done and does its job to pay tribute to those who made the ultimate sacrifice. So if you have time, go down there and see what it looks like.
On that note, perfect way to end. Brother Mark, Brother Steve, Brother Bobby, thanks so very much.